Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Gen Con 2023 and the Solforge Fusion World Champions 2023. Joining us for this round is the Creech brothers, Casey Kidd and Greg Core from the Discord. They're going to commentate this match, so enjoy.
Hey everyone, excited to be here and talk through this game. We got an exciting, looks like a double Rumble matchup here with Cardboard Newt and Mundungu in play.
How's it going, everybody? Core here. Yeah, looking forward to it. See what these guys can do.
Yeah, so see him right now taking notes there in Core, and so something I kind of mentioned to you before is what Mundungu does at matches. You can see his notes pad that he prints out, which I think is a really good idea. Helps speed up his note-taking process and kind of keep him in sync throughout the match.
Yeah, that's one thing I could maybe do better is start taking notes. I try to keep it all in my head and get it mixed up sometimes. So yeah, they're both getting notes in.
Yeah, and, you know, with those notes, like I remember, I think it was Indie UC that they kind of just announced like, hey, notes are acceptable. Go ahead and play notes, which was cool. But we found like everyone was trying to find their rhythm and like how they're gonna use notes for the game. And we had some games where it went really well, and some games where you kind of had some potential issues, you know, slow down the game or whatever. Not huge ones, but I think this is something for everyone to emulate. Like really helpful, keeps the game on point once it gets moving.
Yeah, let's take a look at their decks here. Yeah, so Mundungu's running the Rumble Heart, some key cards in there. You got Dark Heart Sorcerer, Shambling Spectre, Vampiric Demon, so those are good ways to trigger it. Gloom Reaper Hag could potentially, but then you also have the Necromancer for late game. Ability to get cards played. And good set of spells. Cersei's Call is always great. Grave Pact works great with Rumble Spark and Soul Reap, Elemental Rituals. Really great cards.
Yeah, and Cardboard Newt, looking at his Rumble Heart deck, he's got some very interesting cards. So like the Chaining Ice Crusher right off the bat, you know, if you can draw that in hand with 2 spells, you know, hopefully Dark Heart, if you're the opponent, hopefully Dark Heart's not on the board at that point and Rumble in play. But like that's just pure spell generation money there. And then Rageborn Eruptor, I think we're finding pretty regularly that this is one of the stapled cards into a successful Nova deck. You know, it's an elemental with breakthrough, and you know it can get bigger and bigger and bigger. Grunty Elementalist, more free spells. And beating Mongosaur is really fun with the Rumble Heart because it can kill the Rumble Spark and bring it back and, you know, trigger, or, you know, if it doesn't, you're just weakening it down, which is a creature you don't mind to lose, you know, at some point. And then a couple of other ones, Blitzing Colossus, you know, allow you to trigger it. Looking at the purple half, this is where things, you know, get a little bit more maybe toolboxy, but you know, Doom Drake is a very interesting card. Plays in with the Rumble Spark very well. Sacrifice a creature, do some damage. Sarazal is very interesting if you can trigger her ability to get another big guy on the board. He's kind of like the Necrium Rumble Spark in a way. So that's also pretty interesting. And then looking down through the spells, Flame Sculptor Seal, very good. Disintegrate is going to be a potential answer for other dark cards if played on the same turn. It's one of the few that does enough damage to kill it outright at each level. Dreadbolt, the same thing. And then Runescarred Pit is just value card, but it's actually kind of a difficult one to pull off because the more Runescarred Pits you put in play, it limits where you can put your Rumble Spark energy. So I guess I'd be surprised if we end up seeing the Runescarred Pit come down. I think if we see that maybe he's leaning more towards like a desperation play.
Yeah, and you can always, if you needed to, when you drop your Rumble Spark energy piece, you can always just remove a pit that's in the way.
Yeah, very good point. Looking at these, you know, it does look like Cardboard Newt is going to end up playing with the Sunder Forgeborn. You know, at cycle 2, that's going to be 2 spell sprites. It's just 2 more things on the board to help flip the energy potentially. If they can sneak through damage. You can have Stimbolt at 3 with the free ability. So we'll see if, or free spells. So let's see if those come into play here.
Yeah, looking at Mundung, looks like he's running Sunder as well with the Summon the Swarm. Yeah, the 2 spell sprites at level 2. And then going into cycle 3 has the Frostbolt dealing 4 damage to each enemy creature, which can be pretty impactful. And then before you got the Gale Surge, give your creatures +4 attack and mobility. So.
And that Frost Blast, I'm curious if we'll see it, but Elementalist Ritual in the deck, that's a huge boost to the damage that comes out of that and can really clear an entire board.
Yeah, it'd be nasty.
So it sounds like we got the call for start here, so we should see some plays. Got the players picking up their hands and getting ready here.
Looks like Mundungo has the Forge. And drop in a Shambling Spectre, yeah.
Yeah, that's a card that's done a lot of work for him too, because it's a base creature with stealth. So he puts Rumble Spark Energy behind it, and all of a sudden that's a Shambling Spectre with stealth, and it's an elemental.
And he's on the Forge, so yeah, that's a huge piece there.
So we have Cerazal the Deceiver here coming out for Newt, and that's kind of, you know, the Soulbind card to get the Night aspect into play, and I kind of mentioned that's like the Necrium Rumble Spark. So basically now any creature that Newt plays in that lane is going to have stealth until he can eventually, he'll need to get later levels of Cerazal out to flip that into the Night Apotheosis.
Oh, so we got a Gloom Reaper drop by Mundungu, and then the Darkheart Sorcerer hitting the board in the far lane for Cardboard Newt.
So Newt's going to take some damage here, happily accepts it, knowing that he's going into the next round, you know, with something that pairs up pretty favorably against the Shambling Spectre, and then having the Darkheart in an open lane. Oh, and and Mundungu had to discard Disintegrate there, so now he has no easy answer for Darkheart Sorcerer across the board. And, neither player had Nova Elementalist, so that's still something we haven't seen cycle through yet.
Yeah, so now we're on, cycle 1, turn 2, Cardboard Newt on the Forge. He's got currently sitting at 41 hit points, so took that 9. So it'll be interesting to see. Looks like there's a Flame Sculptor Seal in his hand, and I can't see anything else.
Yeah, curious to see how he comes into this. Like, honestly, both players have a decent head of steam right here, and have yet to pull kind of the trump card of the Rumble, Nova Elementalist. So very curious to see how we attack this here.
Yeah, so here comes the spell.
Chose to target the Spectre, so that way Cerazal can trade out there, potentially.
Yeah, and so I'm guessing he doesn't have Nova then in his hand, getting that played off first before his Dark Card had a chance of getting removed, or just adding another option for a spell later to get the boost damage. So I think Mundungu going into this is probably feeling a little bit more comfortable knowing that he didn't see the Nova drop first.
Yeah, very good point, and that's going to definitely impact his plays here. Not to say you wouldn't remove the Darkheart Sorcerer if you had the opportunity, but he can kind of know that it's not necessarily 100% priority on the first play if he's got a better first play.
Yeah, now doesn't mean he doesn't have the Nova, but I would almost think you'd want to drop that first just to start getting other synergies going. So, Elemental Ritualist, ritual hitting, only hitting the one piece on it.
Yep, and he doesn't have the Elemental in play, so he doesn't get to choose two options there. Essentially, he's bringing Darkheart Sorcerer down into potentially creature killable range or some other spell killable range. And what's crucial is that leveling up of Elementalist Ritual. Like I said, with that Frost Blast later, Mundungu has shown the ability to clear entire boards, and not just of small creatures with that card combo.
Yeah, and I think Cardboard's almost got to drop something in front of the Hag just in case he has the Nova Elementalist in hand.
Right. Have to play a little bit defensively while on the Forge against these types of decks.
So I think we'll see a creature play. Yep. You're onto Elementalist, not able to get the benefit of a free spell because he had to just drop it into that empty lane.
Ooh, that's a tough one too. It's just not, it's going to level up the card that you want to level up, but it is not going to clear out the Gloom Reaper Hag.
Cersei's Call is going to get 3 zombies in play.
Oh, and there's the nice new Worlds 2023 zombies. I love the chibi art style they went with.
Yeah, I think they're great.
One thing I don't know too if the mat's been mentioned, but this is the Yeti mat. I think it's a little unfortunate with the lanes not having the exalts. I really like the exalts, but I do like the mat. And I will say, from the beginning of the game, I had kind of always hoped Yeti would get its day. So hopefully set 3 brings Yeti synergy into the fold.
Yeah, like it's a nice clean mat, and I think it's got a lot of nice. The way it's set up is nice as far as the Yeti in the middle and the black surrounded by the blues on the outside. I mean, it doesn't overlap in each other. I like that clean look.
Yeah, not too overcrowded. Here we go with Mundungu onto the Forge here. So this is cycle 1, turn 3. We're moving at a pretty decent clip through the game.
Yeah, now if you can get a way to get rid of that dark heart here, otherwise there's still a chance for the Nova to drop.
Yeah, public enemy number 1. If you could clear it out before Newt's opportunity to play a card.
But Mundungu hasn't seen his dark heart yet, or his Nova.
Yeah, you can see the consternation in his hand style here. I wonder if that's because, you either only see that when you have a really good hand with a bunch of options, or you don't see the 2 cards you want to see. So let's see what he comes down here with. Leads out with the Unstable Vortex, which is an elemental. Essentially, anytime that Mundungu plays spells, he's going to get bigger and bigger, kind of Spell Sprite-esque. And then eventually he'll be able to sacrifice that creature to deal damage based off its attack to another creature.
So he gets rid of the Gloom Reaper Hag. And drops...
Oh, he dropped the Nova into the Flame Sculptor seal to trigger the seal. And then that pops the playing of the energy pops Rumble Spark as Dark Heart is on the board.
Yep.
So leading right into a real strong hand here for Newt, getting his pieces on the board. If Mundungu cannot reciprocate, it's going to be a very slippery slope. Life total is 50 to 41, but really in the game, today, that's not a big difference. That really doesn't matter once you get this online.
Soul Reap's down, so the zombie can get rid of it this turn. Yeah, the health isn't big, but having Cardboard Newt hit both his key pieces here, and it does not look like Mundungu's got it.
And what's really interesting too is the ability to put the Rumble Spark in that lane with the Knight Apotheosis Exalt, essentially giving everything stealth. So once he beefs up that Rumble Spark, it's going to be hard to get to block it.
The Snip-Eating Monksword was a great play, keeping his Dark Heart alive going into the next cycle.
Yeah, used it to clear out the board.
And he's going to be on Forge, so he'll be able to take an action early to utilize it before a chance for it to be removed.
So both players shuffling up now. This is Mundungu's in a very tough spot, I think, here. Board state, everything except for life is going to be working against Mundungu. He wasn't able to level up some of the important cards he needed. He leveled up Elementalist Ritual, but no Nova Elementalist, no Dark Heart Sorcerer. So, I think we're really going to see he's going to be on the back foot here for the first couple of turns to see if he can turn it around.
Yeah, he's going to need to be able to see that Dark Heart and Nova here early in the cycle to try to get back on par, which is doable if he sees them. But because he does have a little bit of a health advantage, so he can just take some hits here at the start of cycle 2 if he can get his cards that he needs.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Sometimes both very good players. He knows he can take a couple of hits to set up the board he needs. And with these spell-heavy decks, like Elementalist Ritual, he's got an Elemental on the board. He's got that potential board-clearing opportunity here with all low-health creatures out there.
That's true. Yeah. So if he's drawn that and he got it leveled up, so yeah, he can do a lot of damage. All right, dropping a Flame Steeper skill, which kills out the Elemental.
Yep, buffs that stealth Rumble Spark. Does the Dark Heart life drain?
That's a nice combo. I like the I like getting the stealth on a creature that's getting big that you just need to always chump block and you just don't get an opportunity to.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of decks put breakthrough on Rumble Spark. Godges is one of them. I think that has done it before. A couple others. Newt, I think, being someone who's done it before. But putting stealth on it, that's a really good combo. That's a lot of fun to have that Soulbind drawn into a Dark Heart deck.
Yeah, it's kind of why I like that Shard, like using Shard King as well, doing the breakthrough, getting your creatures breakthrough damage. The stealth might be a little bit better option, keeps your guy alive in some cases. Maybe not necessarily for the Rumble Spark deck, but because you want him to get killed and then come back a lot of times.
And you mentioned that Shard King too. One of the hard parts about flipping the Shard Cavern is getting 15 attack on a creature, right? Rumble Spark's one of those creatures that can kind of get there pretty easily if you got the right deck tuned to do it.
Yeah, it can get up there pretty quick because people don't necessarily want to kill it.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to start triggering more stuff. The nice thing about the Shard King, I mean, even if you don't transform it, like just having a creature on the board with breakthrough is that lane is just always going to be a menace.
So we have Mundungu throw the Dark Heart on the board. And so really he needs to essentially probably play a spell, clear a creature, and then flip the Spark here in the next turn. But it's going to get very difficult because now we have an Elemental with Breakthrough on the board, an Elemental with Stealth, and Dark Heart still just hanging out back there. There's that level 2 Soul Reap, so that's a big life gain card from Mundungu. And I'm kind of curious, to look back through his deck and see if he's got any beasts. If that was a disadvantageous lay for him in the first cycle based off a bad hand, he was kind of forced to play it to kind of get that Dark Card into killable range.
Yeah.
But then, maybe that's not a card he typically leans on in this deck.
Yeah, so he took the health down. I mean, they're still within a pretty small clip. Obviously, Cardboard Newt still got the advantage here. Again, Mundungu has the cards to flip this back around if he draws them.
Right, yeah. I think especially with both having Dark Heart on the board, that's key. If you can staple that card to the board playing this style of deck, then you're never out of the running. You will always have a chance to turn this thing around or to win the game just by having that in play, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Mundungu's deck, I mean, with Everflame Phoenix, that's a beast, so there's one there. And then I think you got the Vampiric Demon, that's 2. And I think that might be it.
One thing that's very interesting, I was just kind of thinking about here with Night Aspect giving Stealth to Rumble Spark. Essentially, he may never want to play Cerazol level 2, because if at any point then he flips it and replaces the Rumble Spark doesn't act as if it died at that point then. So it's not going to come back as the energy. So essentially, I think he's solely playing that for the Night Aspect to give it Stealth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I was thinking that thought process through a little bit. So Night Apotheosis doesn't demand you play it in the lane that it's in. So that's actually really powerful. If he does play it, he can flip that Night Apotheosis into any lane.
So it looked like he Mundungu popped his Forgeborn ability, getting the 2 sprites, and then leading off with an Elementalist Ritual. And then looking like he chose to
Eruptor off the board. He chose, I think, to put the damage into the Eruptor. And here comes Cerazol. So now if any of his creatures deal damage to the opposing player, he gets to flip Night Aspect.
Yeah, it looks like he chose to do direct damage and kill one creature.
Yep. So that Cerazol and Dark Heart Sorcerer is actually a very good combo. So as long as any of your other creatures deal damage to the opposing player, you get to flip that Night Apotheosis. And that Night Apotheosis is a 10-8 with Stealth. It has the same ability essentially as a Rumble Spark, but if it's destroyed, you just get to transform it back.
Yeah, you get to transform it back, but if that Cerazol leaves play, he's not going to come back. Yeah, so here's the Mongosaur probably going to kill off the Rumble Spark potentially. No?
Yeah, I would guess just simply because it's in a lane that if it comes back as a 4/8, it's still, you know, if you put it back in that same lane, it's going to trade out the spell sprite, same as before. So now here's where the magic's going to happen.
Triggering. We're gonna see the Dark Heart trigger here, and then we'll see the Cerazol trigger.
Talking about increasing non-combat damage. Assume. Where that comes.
And then, yeah, now he's pointing at the Cerazol here. He probably mispronounced that. Did damage. Yeah, that's...
I'm guessing maybe they were explaining something that we're not aware of, because I believe that should have flipped it.
Maybe he chose not to because it says May, and he wanted to keep the stealth active there because he was off Forge. Yeah, if you deal damage to the enemy player with another creature, you may transform Night Aspect and put it into one of your empty lanes. So it looks like he chose not to do so to keep Rumble Spark with stealth going into the next turn. And so then we saw the Fiend take out the Dark Heart Sorcerer, come back alive, and now Cardboard Newt's going on to the Forge here. And we still have Cardboard Newt has not activated his Forgeborn ability yet, but Mundungu has. And I am mispronouncing that.
So we got that level 2 Dark Heart down. So this is what I was talking about, stapling the Dark Heart, right? As long as you can keep this thing in play. Mundungu is finally able to clear level 1 Dark Heart. And then right after that, you know, level 2 Dark Heart drawn in play. That's devastating blow to morale.
That is rough.
And you know, if anything more in this game, like I love all the auxiliary things to the game. You know, like when you do a play that really just sucks the wind out of your opponent, that can do more for the game than you really think, because people, even if they're not behind, start feeling like they're behind. And I don't think this is going to affect Mundungu that much. He's an amazingly solid player. These are the types of things you can think about in the game, like when you can play the thing right after that they removed, that's a morale hit to the player, and they start thinking about the game a little bit differently. So we see Newt drop the Disintegrate here, clear off the threat. Essentially, he's just saying, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity to keep your board clean.
Yeah, took out the Nova, the Rumble Spark energy for Mundungu's underneath the Indomitable Fiend, and then Cardboard Newt popping his Forgeborn, choosing to just play the one spell sprite. And doing that before the Disintegrate.
We have the level up of Cersei's Call here. You know, plop a bunch of brutes into play. And there's the angry Chibi Zombie coming on the board, 3 of them.
Nice.
And then we got those the Nexus trackers in play. Those things are so cool. I think we got a couple days left on the Kickstarter for Ben Onk's Nexus Kickstarter, if you haven't checked that out.
Yeah, those were so nice using those when we got a chance to play with them at the TCG cons.
Oh yeah, I think you misspoke there. So when you had the chance to crush me a couple of times and using those Nexus trackers. Yeah, no, we had some solid games, but yeah, those things just help really like speed the game up. You know, you don't have to focus so much on some of the more fiddly bits of the game.
Yeah, excellent additions.
So here's where we're seeing that Night Aspect really come into play, right? So Mundungu, you can tell, wants to block the Rumble Spark, but then doesn't want to kill it because Dark Heart. And then adding Stealth on top of the Rumble Spark is just another wrinkle that you have to account for throughout the game.
Yeah, so I think at this point, you know, Mundungu's health is getting low there. He just keeps being able to Cardboard is able to keep pushing damage through, like you said, using the stealth, and then the Dark Heart's doing work as well.
So I think we're zipping into cycle 3 here, going through upgrades, shuffling up, and then yeah, talking about the health difference. It's only 10 health point difference, but at 28, you're starting to get what I would say in the danger zone, going up against a Rumble Heart deck in cycle 3 where the swings get bigger. One thing that Newt doesn't have going for his deck for that big punch is the Elementalist Ritual, so he's kind of lacking that piece. But a Rumble on the board with Stealth. And
the Dark Heart out. So he's up. He's got the 10 point advantage. Plus, he's what I would say has the better board state at this point, because even the zombie at this point is not taking out the Dark Heart Sorcerer. So he has to play another card just to take out the Dark Heart Sorcerer, essentially. So Cardboard Newt not only having the board advantage and the health advantage, he's getting the play advantage too at this point. And I think that's the big thing on this game, is getting play advantage on somebody, where they have to start devoting more turns plays to their cards to just equalize the game state.
Yeah, every card Mundungu plays is just trying to get back to an equilibrium. And you're right, it just costs plays. In a game where you get 2 actions a turn, and then everything else on top of that, even if it's not, a card, we kind of consider it an action. So when Newt plays a spell here and takes extra life, that's like extra points of an action. And so he's just got that card advantage engine going.
Mm-hmm.
And Mundungu's, he's got the energy in play to kind of hopefully get there, but he doesn't have it actively moving yet.
Now, I think now with Mundungu can take out the Dark Heart this turn, but it will require him to use his Forgeborn ability. So we might see that this turn. But him being on Forge gives Cardboard Newt a chance to react to taking that 4 damage across the board.
Right, and it could be followed up with another Dark Heart Sorcerer or some other method to flip Rumble back into play. So here we got the Mundungu plays a level 2 Nova Elementalist. He's going to drop that in the energy lane. He brings on a pretty crucial ability into the game, essentially, counting the amount of elementals you have in play, and then being able to divvy that damage out, based on the amount you have in play. So we'll see. That may aid in his ability to kill the Dark Heart. So right now that's an extra 2 damage to the Dark Heart. Yeah,
see, then here comes that Flame Sculptor Seal, taking out the threat to the Dark Heart there.
Yeah, so now Mundungu can essentially no longer rely on having that ability to deal that creature do 6 damage to the Dark Heart. So it takes away his incentive to potentially do a little bit of chip damage to the Dark Heart. So here it is,
He's going to do 4 damage to it. Still not enough to take it out. He could still take it out by sacking the elemental he just put in play. I think that's the unstable. You sack it to do damage equal to its attack, and then popping the blast wave.
Yep. Yeah, if you wanted to go all out.
Disintegrate's going to take out the Nova Elementalists.
So essentially, being off Forge, what he's doing is just clearing something off the board and saying, I'm doing 4 more damage to your health through my Rumble Spark and 3 more damage to your health through Dark Heart. That's that card advantage, just being able to lean down.
Yeah.
It is going to allow Mundungu to flip Rumble Spark because of that unblocked, unstable vortex.
Yeah, but at this point, he's taking 16 damage. He's going to put him down into A, which puts him in a rough spot.
Talking about potentially doing his Forgeborn, opts out. So here we go with 36-6 life point now. Essentially, that's what 2 spells away from the game.
2 spells, and he's got a free spell going on. He's going on Forge, so he could just push lethal at the start of the turn. He's got 2 spells in his hand.
Right. And especially if one of those spells kills Rumble Spark, that's the second spell.
Yep.
So let's see what they shuffle up here going on Forge. I think this match isn't over, but this is a very this is a clinical representation of Rumble Spark versus Rumble Spark in my mind. If one doesn't flip it early and the other does, it's just an uphill battle the entire way. The person that flipped early just gets to lean down and push the card advantage. And then, if they both flip it early, then it is a dogfight. It's a really good match. But it is a very good representation of what we've seen here.
Yep, yeah. You got his Rumble Spark up early, and not only that, he got it going with a stealth engine, which was allowing him to continuously push big chunks of damage through. And then anytime that Mundungo had a threat to take out his Dark Heart early, he was able to mitigate that and keep it alive for another turn or two.
All right, so here we see, obviously not getting potentially the spell he wants to see, but we do get to see Cerazol the Deceiver level 3. And essentially that's on deploy, you can just transform the Night Aspect and put it into one of your empty lanes. I think just hoping to push advantage here, throws out a 10-8 with stealth.
Yep, and then since he was a mage, he dropped in the Flame Sculptor's seal spot and just took out a body out of the way.
Yeah, and so if Newt has something to kill 8 health creature in Rumble Spark before that Dark Heart's out, that almost seals the deal, because you need a lot of 2 aggressive creatures. Well, I take that back. Rumble Spark no longer has stealth, but now you're looking at 3 creatures you got to block. 1 not having lethal, which is important. 5 damage on the Cerazol.
Yeah, that's stealth Night Apotheosis. If he doesn't have an answer for it.
Right.
But if he does, he can just put stealth onto the. It would be playing a spell, which is going to do the damage, and then it puts the stealth onto. I can't pronounce her name.
Cerazol.
Cerazol. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Greg, but I sound confident, so we're going with it.
Sounds good to me.
You bring up a great point. Night Apotheosis or Rumble Spark dies. Before I had mentioned not being lethal, the 5 damage from Cerazol. However, if you get down to 1 health, and if you kill either of those creatures, they transform. That's a spell played.
Yep. Yeah, he's in just a really bad spot. You basically need to survive another turn, you'll need a stealth. There it is. And
it's enough. The level 3 Stampeding Mongsaur is enough to kill the Shambler. He's going to gain some health. It's going to equalize from the Dark Heart. That's where we saw those hand motions saying, hey, you gain 3, I lose 3. I do the same thing because of Dark Heart. So let's just call that a wash. Health totals are going to stay at 36-6.
So if he has an aggressive creature, he can prevent the lethal. But it put him at 1 point, which then puts him in danger of any spell next turn. So.
Yep. He would lead into Solforge, which would be important to give him that crucial chance to get rid of Dark Heart before the spell plays, to just kind of keep the game moving.
Okay, he does have the Disintegrate.
And that is going to flip. That's a Dark Heart trigger.
Going to put stealth on there, which won't do anything this turn.
Well, it does bring him down into lethal for the 5.
Well, he's going to take that 5 anyways, unless he has a way of clearing it, because his action was to Disintegrate.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And we are staring at a free Circe's Call, so that's why he did that choice. He hasn't played it yet, but we can see it in his hand.
Yeah, so I think they're counting the number of spells at this point. Yeah, they're just going to go ahead and call it. So, the spell triggered, and then with stealth on there, that's the lethal that I was talking about that earlier. Yeah. The Dark Heart spell trigger for the 3, and then with stealth on the 5, that's enough damage to finish it off. Even with the Circe's Call, you'd have to have something to gain health or have aggressive.
The 2 really solid players playing very similar decks. But what we saw there really is just, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but the ability to get up on card advantage and just use that Rumble Spark free spell engine to kind of keep it going. Cardboard Newt has a really, really cool deck in that Night Aspect using Cerazol. That's something I'm gonna say I have not seen used very regularly. So that's a very cool wrinkle in the game, and just a slow evolution of what we're seeing out of Rumble Spark. But adding stealth to Rumble Spark just makes it a different threat entirely.
Yeah, and you almost play it differently, because you don't necessarily, in a lot of cases you'll toss it out there just so it dies in combat and kills something, and then comes back and just does it again. In this case, if they do that, or they choose to not get in the way, you just keep them alive and keep buffing them up, and you're just punching damage through that we saw throughout the game. he was just getting 8 to 6 to 8, 12 damage through from stealth in combats, which is a huge advantage.
All right. Well, I think the Shuffle Bus crew was gracious enough to kind of loan us the bus for a little bit here. Had a lot of fun. Hopefully people enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. This is a great event. It looks like Stoneblade's putting on a pretty good event. I've seen the prizes.
Oh,
they look good.
Fantastic.
These dials that they created do look really, really nice. So you get a chance to see someone playing with them. It's a really cool token to give away. The minions look really nice. Everything's running pretty smoothly here. I think they're gonna get into Top Cut today, potentially based off of the player's choice. So we'll see how that goes. But looking forward to see how this one shakes out.
Yeah, so the Top Cut's gonna get real interesting. So
it is. Yeah,
looking forward to it.
I'm really excited to see. I've looked at the list a little bit here, and there's just a couple of different ones. Like this is a Rumble Spark. That uses Cerizal. There's a Rumble Spark that's in a Uteran deck.
Yeah, I think that's Gorgeous.
Yep. Talking with Nick Fletcher, 11 of the 19 decks are running Rumble Spark. So I'm really curious to see how the top 8 shakes out, see how those guys fought each other. But this was a fun match, I guess, for us to watch. But I feel like Mundungu probably felt like he was up against the wall the entire match. Yeah,
I think seeing him seeing the opponent's Rumble Spark jump early and him not getting his, until later in the game, it's a hard thing to do. But I mean, they're probably going to see each other again in the Top Cut at some point. I mean, these two are great players, two great decks, and so,
That's a good point. They both nailed, they punched their ticket into the Top Cut already.
Yep.
They probably are going to play against each other again, and wouldn't be surprised. It could go either way,
All right. Well, thanks for listening to us rumble about the game. So.